Hi guys, Jason here on the other farm. I'm actually on the other farm property this afternoon, guys. What I want to talk about is, if you look behind me there, I've been slashing over the last 2 days. I've probably done 20 or 30 acres of slashing. That's the brown bit you can see there. And this green bit just behind me, and what I'm standing in, is where the cows are currently continuously grazing. What I want to go on and talk about is why I've slashed out there, and I do it continuously. I've probably done it 3 or 4 times a year. I want to go through the methodology behind why I'm doing it, and just not leaving it there and slashing it once a year. A lot of you may be thinking to yourself, why isn't he grazing his cattle on there? The reason why I'm not grazing my cattle, guys, is right behind me there used to be my fence line, or is my existing fence line. It's non-existent now, because when I bought the property 2 years ago, there was trees, lantana, grasses higher than my head, and it was right between or coming up through my fence line. And the fence that was there was a 5-strand barbed wire fence, and it was in disarray, irreparable. There's probably only 3 or 4 strands of wire left standing in the whole fence. They were rusted out. You touch it and just crumble in your hand. So I've pulled that fence down, and I've got an excavator and my chainsaw out, and we cleared that fence line because I wanted a clear fence line in the front of my property to keep clean. The reason why I want to keep it clean is because I'm waiting on my timeless fence system to come from the States, and that's what I'm putting up here, is electric fence. So I want to be able to keep all the growth and trees off the fence line. So that's why I've been slashing for the past 2 years, guys, is because I haven't got my fence in to be able to get it grazed. Now back to the question is, why don't I just leave it and do it, say, once a year, or do it when I'm ready to put the fence up? Because what I'm doing, guys, is building topsoil. In the interim, until I got my fence up, I'm still building topsoil. I'm armouring the soil and holding the moisture in. What I'll do is I'll go on the paddock and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Righto guys, I'll show you what I'm talking about just here, about building back the soil. Righto guys, we'll have a closer look what I'm talking about. If you have a look down in there, all that dead matter on the ground, that's worth 2 years worth of slashing to get that on the ground. I'll just open it up and show you the soil underneath. So I'm digging down, so that's just hitting dirt there, guys. So that's probably, I don't know, maybe 6 to 10 mil of old slashings, which is mulched down and turned to topsoil. We had rain 2 weeks ago now, guys, and I'll dig that up and I'll show you. See, that's still wet soil. I'll squish it together and it's still staying in a ball. So that's showing it's still wet. So that's what you're after, guys. I'm armouring the soil to keep the moisture in the ground, to grow the grass back faster, and also to keep the microbes cool and the biology. In comparison, guys, we'll go to an area in this paddock where I'm continually grazing. This only gets slashed once a year. So I slash through just before the end of spring, getting ready for the summer rains. So we'll have a look at a bit of soil here, guys, and I'll show you the difference what slashing does to no slashing. Righto guys, as you can see, there's definitely no height there, guys. It's probably, I don't know, 1 inch. And that's probably only 1 inch because we've had that 200 mil of rain recently. But if you have a look, if I part that grass, look, instantly, there's exposed topsoil. Exposed topsoil. Exposed topsoil. So there's no armour on that at all. There's no slashing, there's no clippings. And if I try and trying to break it up, guys, look, there's no way that's going into a ball. That's just forming dust. No matter where I try and break that off, it's just all dust, guys. So it's already dried out. So there's no armour on the soil to hold any moisture. The sun's been out for a couple of weeks and that is already dried off. In comparison to what we looked at back there in that paddock where I've been slashing for the last couple of years, where the armour on the ground and the moisture is still in the dirt. Alright guys, we'll pick a second spot to dig into. This I know when I slashed it was pretty thick, so we should have a lot more clippings on the ground and a lot more of that residue or mulch turning into topsoil here, because I know this was a thicker area. And as you can see from around me here, guys, there's a lot more grass on the ground, as in slashings, than we were previously. It was pretty light on over there, so I'm expecting to get a lot more here. Before I get into the soil, guys, and start digging into it, check out the clippings, guys. They're evenly spread over the ground all the way along here. You'll see it, it's virtually covered. When I first done this 12 months ago, it was with my old David Brown tractor, which old school slasher, it just leaves the windrows. But the last probably 2 or 3 times I've slashed now, I've used the wood slasher, and it just evenly distributes it on the ground, and it's magic, guys. It just mulch and mats the whole surface, so that matter evenly breaks down into the ground rather than that one windrow. So I won't go on about that, guys. I'm going to do a review on the wood slasher. I'm going to bring the old David Brown tractor out with a slasher on, and the new Kubota tractor and the wood slasher, and I'll put them side by side and we'll do a field day. I'll give them a run, show you what they do, show you how they both cut, and I'll talk about the pros with the new tractor and the woods combination compared to the old school tractors. So we'll dig into this area here, guys, and I'll give you a look. Righto, guys, we'll dig in here and have a look. We might go here. Seems to be a lot of slashings on the ground, so I'm expecting to find more in here. Cut that grass. So if you have a look in there, guys, yeah, there's a lot more in there. Let's get the grass out of the road. There's a load more there. I reckon that's probably 25 mil. That's close to an inch, guys, of matter, dead matter, previous residue from slashings on the ground. There's even fungi there. So that's breaking down. That's really good, guys. It's really holding the moisture in to have fungus there. Oh yeah, that's almost like mud. I don't even need to ball that together, guys. Look. Yeah, no, that's really holding the moisture, guys. That's awesome. Nah, and that's why I'm slashing, guys, to build back that topsoil and armour the soil. So on that note, guys, if your property like mine is unfenced because you pull your fencing down and you either haven't got the money to put up new fencing, or you've got a fence up and you haven't got the money to stock with livestock presently, because I know the prices are through the roof since COVID-19 come. I know here in Australia, the meat prices were like $3.50 a kilo and they're up around $7.50 a kilo now, so I know it's not cheap. So if you are in that boat, guys, definitely don't get disheartened, guys. Grab a slasher and start slashing. Like you said, the main thing is, guys, what you want to do is keep it in a vegetative state. A vegetative, what I mean by a vegetative state is, a vegetative state is when a plant, it's between the stage of germination to when it flowers or seeds. In our case, it's seeds. So in between there is classified as a vegetative state. You don't want it getting to a point where the pasture comes up and drops that seed, because then, as I keep saying, it's going to drop that seed. Its only job is to propagate or repopulate. It'll drop that seed and that plant will die. And then that's no good for anybody, guys. You can't catch the sun, you can't catch the carbon dioxide, you're not feeding the biology in the soil, because that plant is dead. It's dead to you. It cannot do nothing. So that wood slasher, guys, like I said, I bought it because it cuts about, if I stand here, guys, that grass is there. So that's roughly 300 mil. That is a good height. What I'm trying to do, guys, is leave as much solar panel on the plant as possible. See what that's doing, guys, is, I'll pull that out, that's leaving that much solar panel on that plant. It's about a foot, 300 mil. That solar panel collects that sun and that carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and then it pumps it through into the ground in the way of liquid carbon, and that is feeding your soil life. And the soil life then grab the nutrients to grow that plant back. Fair enough, it's not as good as having cattle grazing on it, because when they bite it, that plant throws root exudates, releases root exudates into the ground because it's stressing, and the microbes can sense the stress from the root exudates coming out of the plant, and they'll quickly gather up the nutrients that needs to grow that plant back. But this is better than nothing, guys. You're still cutting it off, you're still adding the carbon to the ground to armour the soil to hold the moisture in when it does rain, and also because you've left it come to seed, let's say you're broadcasting that seed across the ground, not with a broadcaster, you're doing it with a slasher. As it's spinning out the back, those seeds are throwing out everywhere. When it rains, those seeds go back into that grass, back down to the soil, and they germinate. When I first bought this property, this was sporadic through here. A lot of weeds, sporadic pasture, but like I said, the last 2 years, I've been slashing it 3 or 4 times a year, and as you've seen, I built back a fair bit of carbon on the ground by laying that grass down and building up that topsoil. Now that didn't happen overnight, guys, and a lot of guys out there might say, oh, that's a lot of effort for 10 mil of topsoil. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, Rome wasn't built in a day either. You've got to start somewhere, guys. You have to start somewhere. To get better property and better pasture regeneratively, you've got to start somewhere, guys, and to me, it's not a waste of time. That's going to hold moisture longer. If this was done earlier, guys, instead of continuous grazing, I wouldn't have the erosion issues I've had. The water just floods off these hills when it rains now because the ground is that compact, it doesn't hold moisture at all. And this holds moisture, as I showed you, and I keep doing this until I get cattle to grow back that grass and build back the topsoil as required. So don't get disheartened, guys. If you're in the boat, just slash, guys. Go out and buy a cheap tractor. Mine was $2,500, $2,600 I think it was. Done a few repairs. It owes me about $3,000 for the David Brown, and that has done me for a year and a half until I got the Kubota. Fair enough, it just left me one windrow, but I'll still be able to put that grass back on the ground, and it's better doing nothing at all. But now, like I said, the woods, I can evenly distribute it. But I'm hoping to get the fence up in the next 9 to 12 months, so I won't need to slash. I'll only be slashing once a year to give it a sabbatical over the top once the cows are grazed through it and higgledy-piggledy, it's all over the shop. Just dig that nice sabbatical, bring the grass, and then let it regrow again. But I'm going to try and keep it that 300 mil when I do that sabbatical. It may be every 2 years, guys, not every 12 months. So I think I've just about covered everything, guys. On that note, have a good morning, have a great afternoon, and a terrific evening, guys, wherever you're watching this from, and I'll catch you later.